The most common type of table saw spline jig that I've seen are those that straddle your table saw fence and slide forward and backward. And they're absolutely perfect for thinner stuff such as picture frames or solid panels. They're not that great for bigger, more three-dimensional objects such as boxes because you don't really have that much stability this way. So for an application like this, you're going to want to make a sled that has a 45-degree back face and a 45-degree front face. And that's the particular style spline jig that I'm going to make today. Typically when you have a small decorative box or like a picture frame, you have the grain direction going into the miter from both sides. And what that does is it creates an end grain to end grain glue connection, which isn't that strong. So the purpose of a spline is to cut away at the material, and you're introducing a long grain to long grain glue connection and a long grain to long grain glue connection, and obviously the spline is connected as well, so it greatly increases the strength of the otherwise not so strong end grain to end grain glue connection, and it also adds a nice little cosmetic decorative touch to your project as well. Just like my miter sled, this project is going to be made entirely out of a 2 foot by 2 foot piece of plywood, and I've already ripped 7 inches off to use as the base. That leaves me with the remainder of my pieces being 17 inches long. Whenever you're using the included ruler with your table saw fence and a blade that is tilted, things can sometimes get confusing, but remember that a 45-degree angle is nothing more than an identical rise and run. So if I need a 4-inch piece along the top side of my miter, all I need to do is subtract the thickness of my material and set the fence to that measurement. So a 4-inch piece minus my thickness at 3/4 of an inch means I need to set my fence at 3 1/4 of an inch. The next piece is at 1 3/4 of an inch, but it's cut from the other side of the plywood. My resulting piece has a miter on both sides, and it really doesn't matter if they're matching or not. I've returned the blade back to 90 degrees, and now I'm just going to split this right down the middle. I didn't want to put a lot of mechanical fasteners in this, and I couldn't put a lot of clamping pressure, so I just let it dry overnight. And at this point you can put a runner on it and use it as a sled, but instead I'm going to actually attach it to 2 of my miter gauges. This one came with my table saw, this one came with my bandsaw, and what that will allow me to do is, if for whatever reason I want to make an angled spline, I can just tilt my miter gauge and reattach it and adjust it as needed. I think I'm going to be making everything 90 degrees, but just not having a runner on the bottom will add that possibility down the road. I also don't want the blade right in the middle. I want to position it so that the blade is closer to one side, and what that will allow me to do is give me more room and more accessibility for a speed square to use as a stop block if I wanted to make repeatable cuts such as a matching top and bottom spline. Once you have all your spline curves cut, you need to cut the actual spline material, which has to be the exact width of your table saw blade or slightly less than. and then you can glue them all in place. Now I'm not going to take the time to do it on this demonstration piece because the next project that I'm going to make is going to have a bunch of those in it, and as soon as that video is up I'll post a link to it somewhere here on the video screen. And if you'd like to make one of these spline miter jigs too, I'm going to have a free set of plans available on my website. Now it's not much in the way of plans, it's more of a diagram telling you what cut to make in what order, because remember this all came out of a single 2 foot by 2 foot piece of plywood. Well, I hope you found this jig useful, and I hope you can incorporate some type of new joinery in your next project. My next project is going to have these spline miters that I've never done before, and I'm actually really looking forward to it. The project itself is going to get a lot of use at my home. But anyway, thanks for watching and have a great day.